This presentation will provide a walkthrough of the quarterly and semi-annual tax billing processes and highlight some of the integral components to ensuring tax bills are issued timely. Assessors must value all taxable real and personal property as of January 1st. As part of this process, assessors generate equitable assessments for each property based on the full and fair cash value. Full and fair cash value is defined as the price a willing buyer and a willing seller agree to in an open market transaction. Assessors review sales and market data to ensure equitable assessments. Assessors must also classify all real property by its use as of each January 1st per Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 59, Section 2A. The four classes of real property are residential, open space, commercial, and industrial. The classification codes are used to identify the use of each real estate parcel. For example, residential is classified within the 100 series, open space within the 200 series, commercial within the 300 series, and industrial is within the 400 series. Please note that personal property is a separate category and is treated as a class for purposes of allocating the tax levy. Final assessed values are reported to the DLS Bureau of Local Assessment for approval as part of the tax rate submission. Municipal budgets are reviewed, finalized, and the recap is submitted to the DLS Bureau of Accounts. Once DLS's Bureau of Accounts approves the tax rate recap, assessors prepare a warrant which authorizes the tax collector to collect taxes and a list of all property taxpayers, called the commitment, which lists the assessed value of their property and the amount of taxes owed. The assessors send the commitment and warrant to the tax collector who issues bills and collects property taxes. It is important for the community to mail tax bills timely to generate a reliable revenue stream. While there is no statutory deadline for making the actual tax commitment, it should be completed in sufficient time for the collector to prepare and mail actual tax bills. The timing is dependent on which property tax billing schedule the community has adopted. Property taxes can be billed each year in either quarterly or semi-annual payments. In either case, payments from taxpayers are due 30 days after bills have been mailed, in most cases. We will provide additional information on each of these tax billing schedules, starting with quarterly payment schedules. In a quarterly billing system, assessors should typically prepare the commitment in time for bills to be sent out by July 1st, October 1st, December 31st, and April 1st. If a community adopts this system, property tax payments will ordinarily be due on the first day of the following months: August, November, February, and May. Again, this means assessors should make a preliminary tax commitment each year in sufficient time for the collector to mail preliminary tax bills by July 1st. The first two payments in a quarterly tax billing system are referred to as a preliminary tax. These are taxes based on 50% of the prior year's net tax on the property. The preliminary tax figures are used while the current year's tax rate recap is under review. To reiterate, the community should ensure its tax rate recap is submitted timely so that actual tax bills can be sent by December 31st. In that case, the Bureau of Local Assessment approves the valuations and the city or town issues actual tax bills. These bills account for the full balance owed based on the updated valuation for the current year. Actual tax bills, typically due February 1st and May 1st, true up the tax owed by the taxpayer. Because of this, the final two tax bills will likely be different than the first two tax bills. However, if actual tax bills are mailed after December 31st, the entire balance is payable in one installment due on May 1st or 30 days after the bills were mailed, whichever is later. In the case where a community has valuation delays and cannot issue actual tax bills by December 31st, assessors must obtain authorization by DLS's Bureau of Local Assessment to issue third quarter preliminary tax bills. Local officials must explain the reasons for the valuation-related delay. In addition to the Bureau of Local Assessment authorization, assessors would complete a pro forma tax rate recap and submit it to the DLS Bureau of Accounts. The Bureau of Accounts will then notify the community when they are authorized to issue third quarter preliminary tax bills. The amount cannot be more than the amount of the first quarterly preliminary tax installment. If bills are mailed by December 31st, they are due on February 1st or 30 days after being mailed, whichever is later. The balance of the fiscal year tax after all preliminary taxes are credited against the actual tax is payable in one installment due on May 1st, or 30 days after the actual tax bills are mailed. Note that municipalities must accept Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 59, Section 57C in order to implement a quarterly tax billing system. To summarize, assessors should typically prepare the commitment in time for bills to be sent out by July 1st, October 1st, December 31st, and April 1st in a quarterly billing system. This allows for payment deadlines of August 1st, November 1st, February 1st, and May 1st. The first two payments, called preliminary tax bills, are tax bills based on the prior year's tax data. These two bills cannot exceed 50% of the prior year's tax on the property. Once the tax rate recap has been approved, the city or town can tax the property at the current year's tax rate. Final bills will be based on updated valuations and will make up for the full amount owed by the taxpayer, meaning they will likely be different than the prior two preliminary bills. Note that a community's adopted billing schedule dictates when other responsibilities of the assessor must be completed. The chart on this slide shows a sample schedule for valuation and property tax rate certification deliverables in quarterly billing communities. To learn more about these responsibilities, please visit DLS's website. Now we will look at a semi-annual tax billing schedule. In a semi-annual billing system, assessors should typically prepare the commitment in time for bills to be sent twice a year, October 1st and April 1st. These payments are ordinarily due on November 1st and May 1st, respectively, meaning payments are still typically due 30 days after bills are mailed in this billing schedule. Note that both bills are actual tax bills based on current year tax data. Communities can also adopt a semi-annual preliminary tax billing system. In this version of the semi-annual billing system, assessors make a preliminary tax commitment each year in sufficient time for the collector to mail preliminary tax bills by July 1st and April 1st. However, taxes are still ordinarily paid in two payments by November 1st and May 1st. As with the preliminary tax bills in a quarterly system, the preliminary tax may not exceed 50% of the prior year's net tax on the property. The preliminary tax is payable in a single installment due on November 1st. In the case of late billing, the preliminary tax is still due on November 1st if the bills are mailed on or before August 1st. After the community sets its tax rate, the assessors make the actual tax commitment and the collector mails actual tax bills for the year. Remember, these bills account for the full balance owed based on the final valuation for the current year. These bills true up the tax owed by the taxpayer. Because of this, the final tax bill will likely be different than the first bill. If actual tax bills are mailed on or before December 31st, the balance is due on May 1st. To summarize, assessors should typically prepare the commitment in time for bills to be sent October 1st and April 1st in a semi-annual billing system. This allows for payment deadlines of November 1st and May 1st. In this instance, the tax rate recap will have already been approved by DLS prior to the issuance of tax bills, meaning both property tax bills will be based on current year data. Communities on a semi-annual schedule also have the ability to adopt a system where preliminary bills are sent for the first payment owed. In this case, the assessor should have the commitment prepared so preliminary bills can be issued by July 1st for the payment due November 1st. The first bill is a preliminary tax bill. Remember, this is a tax bill based on the prior year's tax data. Once the tax rate recap is approved by DLS, the tax rate is set, and the assessor can prepare the commitment based on current year tax data. The commitment should be prepared to allow time for the actual tax bill to be sent by April 1st, so that it may be collected by the May 1st due date. Remember, this bill will account for current year tax data, meaning it will likely be different than the prior preliminary bill. Again, a community's adopted billing schedule dictates when other responsibilities of the assessor must be completed. The charts on this slide show a sample schedule for valuation and property tax rate certification deliverables in semi-annual or semi-annual with preliminary billing communities. To learn more about these responsibilities, please visit DLS's website. For additional material on billing cycles, please review DLS's Information Guideline Releases, or IGRs, regarding semi-annual tax billing, quarterly tax billing, and preliminary billing for both types of billing schedules. These, along with additional resources on this and other topics, can be found on DLS's website at the Municipal Finance Training and Resource Center. For additional resources on this topic and for contact information for the Division of Local Services, please visit mass.gov/DLS.